Jason with Saving Sally, and welcome back to a Carticulate Joyride episode. And in today's video, we've got our hands on a C7 ZO6. Now, this car became available to me with some very short notice, and I had a very narrow window that I could take the car out. And even though in my mind I had a huge list of people that I thought would just jump at the chance to ride along with me, maybe even get to drive the car. In reality, when I began to call people, because it was short notice, although tons of people said, man, I wish, but this or that or the other, I actually ended up with my little sister in the passenger seat. And even though, like I said, it wasn't the first choice, I actually think it might have been the better choice, because she ended up making a pretty entertaining video, and it was a lot of fun getting to ride around with my little sister. It's not that I didn't want her in the video, it's that I wanted somebody who could talk cars with me, so she was not my first choice. But if I couldn't get somebody who could talk cars, I did want to get somebody that I had some history with some cars. And Jessica was around when I owned the white Trans Am the first time. I first tried to teach Jessica to drive a manual transmission in Sally. You want to tell the story, or you want me to tell it?
I ran over the mailbox. I mixed the clutch and the brake and rolled right over the mailbox.
Yes. Part of the other reason I wanted to bring Jessica along is because she's always been good for a laugh. Are you good?
Yeah.
Jessica is a moderate car enthusiast. And what I mean by that is she has no idea what kind of engine she has. She doesn't. She has no idea what her turbo does. She doesn't know. But that's okay. But Jessica still has an appreciation for
it
nice...
feels good to drive it.
Yeah, for nice automobiles. She likes a nice car. So I thought her opinion of this car would be nice, because ultimately you can go on YouTube all day long and find thousands upon thousands of videos of people telling you their reviews and all the features and bells and whistles. But I wanted to know a moderate car enthusiast who doesn't know much about cars. Impressions, what do you think?
My stomach went into my throat, and it was fast. There's a cop, by the way.
I'm going to just say some of my first impressions, and feel free to chime in anytime you want to. The styling of the car is
spectacular.
Oh yeah, there's just no way around it. General Motors hit an absolute home run when they designed this car. And if you really look at the C6 versus the C7, the profile and the overall shapes of the car are just really not that different. But it's all these little hard edges and the very slight changes in the body panel that, I don't even know what to call it, but the part of the car where you go from your A pillar and your B pillar, instead of dropping down right here, right behind you, it goes all the way back to the back of the car. It changes the whole look of the vehicle. The little spoiler that sticks up in the back, traditionally Corvettes have been without spoiler. This car has one, and it's such an integral part of the car that spoiler makes a massive difference. The interior of these cars is a million light years ahead of where the interiors were for the C6s. Particularly this area here where you sit, it makes you feel like you are in the cockpit. You literally feel more like you are flying something as opposed to driving a car. But there are still some reminders that this is a GM product. And what I mean by that is just little things like the things that they do to keep the cost down. Like the radio knob is the same radio knobs you're going to find in the trucks. But they do that so that they can offer you a supercar experience on a regular guy budget, so to speak. This is not a Cadillac. This is a Corvette. And that's one of the things that I always hear people jump on and talk about how rough the ride is. But we've been riding for a little while. Have you thought, wow, what a terrible...
No, I didn't think it rode rough at all, actually. I'm surprised to hear you say that.
No, well, you hit a bump or two and you know it. But a lot of times people try to make the car out to be something that can't even be tolerated. And I just don't feel that way. It's a little loud. But I'm not bothered by the volume. Maybe if I were, trying to drive a family car, I wanted to talk to my kids in the back, it would be an issue. But it is a very quiet car for only maybe the first 1,000 RPMs. After you get above 1,000 RPMs, you do hear a lot of engine noise. Now, to a person like me, that's a plus. I like to hear that engine.
Oh, I absolutely like to hear the engine.
One of the sounds that I think is missing is the supercharger. If you were to be driving in a Hellcat, or the 2003 Terminator Cobras, there is no escaping the sound of the supercharger. But in here, I haven't heard it. And I actually find that a little disappointing. I don't know if General Motors did something to bring the volume down, or if it just so happened that the way the car's set up, you can't hear it. I'm not sure. Would you know a supercharger if you heard one?
No.
This car is not the cleanest car you're going to see. It's this car's daily driven. And I like the idea that a car is not shoved in a garage somewhere and left for 20 years. Unless, of course, I'm trying to buy a 20-year-old car, then I want the one that's been in a garage. But at the same time, it almost bothers me to see people to buy a car like this and never let it get rained on or see any road time, because it makes me wonder, well, why did you buy it? A car like this is designed to give people a thrill when they drive it. And if it sits in your garage all day, I don't know, maybe your thrill's coming in and looking at it.
I like this particular model a lot better than the newer model. I think the gauges are a lot cleaner. I think they're more functional. So I prefer this one over the C8.
If I'm just being honest with you, I don't like the interior of the C8 as much as I like this interior. And they were trying to make it look like a cockpit, and they put some buttons in some kind of strange places. And I understand why they did it, but at the same time, when I look at it, I see the same thing you do. I see things that don't necessarily flow or make sense for what we're used to seeing, in a car interior. But I'll also say that I prefer the body lines and the design of the C8 simply because I've always wanted a mid-engine Corvette, and it's finally here. Sometimes you see concept cars that don't. Well, there was a concept Corvette in one of the Transformers movies, and I was praying that wasn't going to be the C7. I thought it was the ugliest thing I had ever seen.
I don't remember that one.
It looked like something Cruella de Vil would drive. Well, I couldn't imagine it out on the road.
I know, I agree with you. I like the engine in the back. I like the outer body of the newer model better, but I like the interior of this better than the C8. I think it's more practical, it's more functional, and you're not reaching in odd angles to maneuver buttons. Do you like the red interior?
I didn't think I would, but now that I'm in here, I do.
Yeah, I like it. So the only thing that I'm not liking, my leather's really soft. This leather feels like...
It almost feels plasticky.
Yes, it doesn't feel like that high quality. In my opinion, and I could be completely wrong on this because I'm not a leather person, I feel like this leather would crack, and it would be harder, and it would be harder to keep it conditioned because it doesn't look like it absorbs as much as soft leather.
I felt the same way. I'm not a leather expert, but I feel like this is the same leather that they put in the trucks. And I know that the truck seats, when they're about 7-8 years old, they look 12 years old.
Yeah.
So I do have a feeling that this leather wouldn't stand up as well as leather in some of the other cars. And I'm not even going to the European cars. I used to have a Dodge Stealth, which is a Mitsubishi 3000 GT rebranded and sold by Dodge. And it had leather. And the leather in that car was tremendously soft. And it looked brand new when we bought the car. It was 4 or 5 years old when we bought it. And when we got rid of it, we'd had it another 3 or 4 years. And the leather still looked brand new, like a new car. I don't feel like this leather's going to look that way. I feel the same way, that there's going to be some cracking. But maybe I'm wrong. If you're a leather expert, tell me, is the harder leather, does that necessarily mean lesser quality? I feel like it does, but I'd like some clarification on that. So my old Trans Am, if I drive around in the sun, even with the tops in, the sun's still shining through, and I feel like I'm just getting cooked. I don't feel that way in this car. This car has a target top, and the sun is shining right through. I've been driving around in it all day, and it feels pretty good.
I think if you do ceramic coating, that could fix that in your sunroof.
Are you feeling like you're...
No, but my sunroof feels like this. And it's not as big as this, but I think if you ceramic coat your sunroof with that ceramic coat tint, I think it makes a huge difference, and I can definitely feel a difference in the front from that.
Now this car is a little older, it's 2015, but I recently did the 2020 and the 2021 GT500s, and those paddle shifters are immediate. If you hit the paddle, you're in the next gear. Another thing this car does is when it shifts out during hard acceleration, you'll hear a pause and then a shift. You're not getting that from the GT500s. I don't know if that's something that they've worked out in the C8s. Not for sure. Maybe it is. But I know in this car, when you shift out, there is a bit of hesitation. It is not as smooth an acceleration as the GT500, although it still is a very thrilling and fun acceleration.
So how do you rate this car? 7 out of 10 out of 4 Corvettes.
For Corvettes, I think it's one of the best Corvettes General Motors has ever made. You got to remember, Corvette is not meant to be a luxury sport car, and so they are putting lesser expensive materials in here than you might find in like your top-end Mercedes or whatever else. But this car is meant to outrun or at least compete with higher-end cars at a lower price, and so that cost has to be cut somewhere. I remember in the C6s, Jeremy Clarkson, you know, Mr. I Hate Everything American, he was always bagging on the cheap plastic interior, and if I'm being honest, there's still some cheap plastic in here.
So me personally, I would rate it a 7 out of 10 because I think there are corners that were cut that wouldn't make it still unaffordable. And I definitely think it could have better leather. I do think the console does feel a little plasticky, like you said, but I don't think that that's going to drive the cost up so much. It's going to make the car on a completely different scale of cost for the consumer. I should have went to the bathroom before I got in your car.
You ready?
No.
Oh man, that's good stuff. I think it's time to take you home.
Oh God. I peed a little.
And that's going to do it for this video. I want to give a big thanks to my little sister for riding along. I also want to give a big shout out to the person who donated this car for me to enjoy for the day. That individual wanted to remain anonymous, so I'm not going to say any names or couldn't have them riding along in the video, but you know who you are, and thanks a million for the opportunity. Literally couldn't have made the video without it. Lastly, I want to thank you for watching, and if you are enjoying this content, give me a thumbs up and a subscribe, a like, maybe share it with somebody else that you think also might enjoy this content. So, until next time, this is Jason with the Saving Sally channel, and this has been a Carticulate Joyride.